Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. With the exception of Week 1, Week 5 might be the biggest and most exciting weekend of college football so far. We have not one, not two, but three top 12 matchups on deck for this Saturday, and the other two games up here still have major implications for both the Big Ten and the Big 12. The Big 12 matchup, of course, still being a top 25 matchup. So guys, these are 5 games that you do not want to miss in Week 5, and we are here to break down everything you need to know for these 5 games. So once again, guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Here to break down our Week 5 college football predictions. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in that description below. The main thing there, of course, is our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Some of the best and most accurate college football and NFL spread picks in the country, beating out 80% of the national analysts for the last 3 years. If you have not signed up for those today, make sure you do it. Again, over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Link is down in the description. It will be one of the best decisions you make all season long. So let's go ahead and dive into these predictions, guys. We've got 5 huge games on board, and as you can see, there are 2 that we don't have a line under, which means we're not predicting them today. Those are our games of the week. And our first one is the game of the week, number 8, Arkansas, traveling to Athens to take on number 2, Georgia. And if you had told me, and if anyone had told you, that Arkansas and Georgia at the beginning of October would be a top 10 matchup with major college football playoff implications, I would have laughed at you. You probably would have laughed at whoever told you that. No one believed this game would be a top 10 matchup, yet here we are. The Razorbacks have been one of the biggest surprises of 2021 so far. We knew Georgia was going to be good. We expected the Bulldogs to be a top 4 team. But the Razorbacks, in at number 8, no one saw that coming. College game day will be in Athens to add to the excitement, but the game will be an 11 o'clock kickoff, 11 o'clock Central Time. So something that many think they could benefit Arkansas more so than it does Georgia. We'll see if that pans out. But you look at the Razorbacks, guys. This is a team that has won all of their games by double digits so far. They beat Texas by 19 points, a Texas team that's looking good now. They just came off a win over Texas A&M, who was in the 7th-ranked team in the country, beat them by 10 down in Jerry's World. Arkansas hasn't looked like they've gotten lucky. They've been a solid football team every single week. The same goes for Georgia, though. Obviously, the number 2 team in the country for a reason. They're coming off a 62-0 victory over Vanderbilt. They have won all their games by double digits except for the Clemson matchup in Week 1, a game that's still not looking as impressive anymore with Clemson's struggles, but still an impressive victory for Georgia nonetheless. This game, guys, genuinely for me, comes down to the passing game. Both defenses are extremely strong. Arkansas has the defense to slow down Georgia's rushing attack. Georgia obviously has the defense to shut down Arkansas's attack. The Bulldogs allowing just 66 rushing yards per game, while Arkansas is averaging 261 rushing yards per game. The Razorbacks, just like every team that has faced Georgia, will not find any success on the ground, which means if the Hogs want to win, if they want to continue to shock the nation, they're going to have to win the game through the air with KJ Jefferson. We saw him do it last week. A&M had a very strong secondary. Jefferson exploited it for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Question is, can he do it again on Saturday on the road in Athens? We have a prediction for that coming out on Wednesday. Arkansas, Georgia, our game of the week. We'll have deeper analysis for that and a winner for you again on Wednesday. Moving to the Big Ten, number 14, Michigan at Wisconsin. This is a bigger game for the Wolverines than it is for the Badgers. Wisconsin's done, right? They're all out. Wisconsin, we thought could be a college football playoff contender, lost in the season opener to Penn State. We said that's fine. If they beat Notre Dame, they're still in it, and they got blown out by Notre Dame 41-13. So the Badgers could still win the Big Ten West, but the odds of that not looking likely with as well as Iowa is playing. And if they fall to Michigan, they're certainly out of that conference title race. This, to me, is a bigger game for Michigan because they are the 14th ranked team in the country. Their sights at winning the Big Ten and maybe being a playoff team are far from over. And Michigan clearly has been the better team all year. But like the Arkansas and Georgia game, this game simply comes down to the run. Who can run the ball more effectively? Wisconsin's allowing 25 rushing yards per game. Notre Dame, last week when they played Wisconsin, had 9 rushing yards on 32 carries. The Badgers don't let up any big plays. Well, Michigan, they want to run. They're averaging 290.8 rushing yards per game. So what's going to come of Michigan? Can they continue to run against this Wisconsin defense, or will the Wolverines struggle a little bit? Rutgers last week in the Big House held Michigan to just 112 rushing yards on the day. Wolverines still won, but they weren't able to run the ball as effectively as they wanted to. At the end of the day, though, guys, when you look at a team in both teams, Michigan and Wisconsin, that can struggle to run because the Wolverines' defense is no slouch, you go, okay, quarterback play. Which quarterback's going to step up and make the big play? And how can you say it's going to be Wisconsin and Graham Mertz? You have to go with Michigan and Cade McNamara, a guy who's thrown for 534 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, versus a guy in Graham Mertz who has thrown for over 550 yards, but for just 1 touchdown and 6 interceptions. Mertz does a horrible job of taking the football. He has yet to prove us that he can win in the big moment, to lead a game-winning drive, to get the ball in the end zone when Wisconsin needs it. He has failed to show us that. He's continuing to hit a slump, and I think Michigan takes advantage of that. I think in a low-scoring defensive slugfest, I have to go with Michigan here, a team who right now owns that quarterback edge, which could be the difference maker. Michigan wins in Madison. Yes, it's over an unranked opponent, but winning in Madison at Camp Randall Stadium is a very, very tough task. And despite Wisconsin having a losing record right now, it will be a very impressive victory and resume booster for the Wolverines. The other game of the week is number 7 Cincinnati and number 9 Notre Dame. Another huge game for the college football playoff, especially more so for the Bearcats. If Cincinnati wins this game over a top 10 Notre Dame team, the Bearcats should move up in the rankings. They probably won't because they're always disrespected, but they should. And they would have a win at Indiana. Yes, an Indiana team that wasn't as good as we thought, but still. Win at Indiana, a win at Notre Dame, and all Cincinnati has to do is run the table in the American, and they are in the playoff. Should be in the playoff, we should add. This is huge for the Bearcats if they want to become the first Group of 5 team to make the college football playoff. But it is also a big game for Notre Dame as well. Fresh off a 41-13 victory over Wisconsin, they're back in the top 10. Their playoff hopes are still on the line, are still within grasp, and a win over the 7th-ranked team in the country would be a huge resume booster for Notre Dame, maybe give them a little leeway if they were to slip up somewhere down the road. Still have games against North Carolina, Virginia Tech, USC, Stanford, guys like that. So we look at this game, though, guys. This is a game where the quarterback play is going to be key. Desmond Ridder for Cincinnati, 748 yards and 7 touchdowns, versus Jack Cohn for Notre Dame, 986 yards and 9 touchdowns on the year. So quarterback play is going to be huge here. Will Cohn show up, play well? Will Desmond Ridder be able to show up, play well in a hostile South Bend environment? Also, Cincinnati coming into this game off of bye week, so well-rested coming into South Bend. But one thing I'm also looking for here is Notre Dame's offensive line. Can Notre Dame's offensive line hold up against Cincinnati's defensive line? That's going to be a key here. The Notre Dame offensive line has been a little bit shaky, has been unable to generate one protection for Jack Cohn, but 2 running lanes for Kyron Williams, as Notre Dame's only averaging 81.5 rushing yards per game. So, like Michigan, Wisconsin, I see this being a relatively low-scoring game where both teams struggle to run the ball effectively. At the end of the day, is going to come down to quarterback play. And we will have deeper analysis for Cincinnati and Notre Dame on Thursday for our second game of the week, and we will have our prediction for who wins the game in South Bend on Thursday as well. So Arkansas, Georgia on Wednesday, Cincinnati, Notre Dame on Thursday. The second to last game we have up here is number 12, Ole Miss, and number 1, Alabama. So back to the SEC. To me, guys, this has the potential to be the most exciting and entertaining game of the day. Just because it's not a top 10 matchup doesn't mean it doesn't hold serious weight. It doesn't mean it's not going to be a huge game, not just for the SEC, but for the playoff. Because Ole Miss absolutely has a legitimate chance to take down the Crimson Tide. If you love offense, this is the game for you. Ole Miss is averaging over 630 yards of offense per game. Over 330 of those are through the air from Matt Corral, who has thrown for 997 yards, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Matt Corral, a Heisman favorite and contender by many, lighting up these defenses. Ole Miss, like Cincinnati, coming off a bye for their game in Tuscaloosa, well rested. Alabama, their offense just as electric. Over 465 yards of offense per game. Over 313 of those through the air from Bryce Young, who has thrown for over 1,100 yards, 15 touchdowns, and just 1 interception. This is, again, a game where I think there's no defense. There wasn't last year. Alabama won last year in Oxford 63-48, and that's when we knew, okay, this Ole Miss team could be dangerous offensively. To drop 48 points on Alabama, that's not something people do. And usually when you drop 48 on Alabama, you're able to win the game. But Ole Miss's defense was so bad last year, they were unable to do that. Well, the Rebels' defense has improved. Alabama's defense is up there as maybe one of the best in the country. So it'll be interesting to see which defense finally gets a stop, which one gets a key stop, which one gets a key turnover, because at the end of the day, that might be the difference maker in a game that I see just being back and forth, these two teams trading scores. And it very well could be one where which team gets a stop in the red zone and holds the opponent to a field goal instead of a touchdown. At the end of the day, though, we have to go with Alabama. The game is in Tuscaloosa. Their offense can match Ole Miss step for step. I still believe the Crimson Tide own that defensive advantage. They own that defensive edge. Ole Miss's defense is getting there. Absolutely is getting there, drastically improving. But with the game being in Tuscaloosa, I don't see them pulling off this victory. I do think it's close. I do think Lane Kiffin comes very close to taking down Nick Saban. The first time Saban would lose to a former assistant. But that day is not going to be this Saturday. But you need to watch this game. It is going to be a fun one. High scoring, fast paced, tons of fun. And then finally, our last game in Week 5, number 21 Baylor and number 19 Oklahoma State. This game could determine who is number 2 in the Big 12 behind Oklahoma. Very well could. Baylor is now in the top 25 following a win over what was then number 14 Iowa State. Defeated the Cyclones 31-29 last week. You got Oklahoma State, who took down number 25 Kansas State 31-20 last week. And that was a major reason from Spencer Sanders, 344 yards to the air and 2 touchdowns. Last year, the Cowboys decimated Baylor. They beat the Bears 42-3. And I'm here to tell you that I don't think it's going to be that big a blowout this time. Although it should be mentioned that only one of the last 8 meetings between the Bears and the Cowboys have been decided by one possession. One of the last 8 decided by just one possession. I think we have a very good chance to see it be 2 of the last 9. Baylor has the talent to keep up with Oklahoma State, especially on offense. They're very balanced. 219 passing yards per game. Jerry Bohannon has been playing great. 828 yards, 7 touchdowns on the year. But Baylor's rushing attack has been more impressive to me. Bohannon, a dual threat quarterback, but they're running well with their backs as well. 272.3 rushing yards per game so far. Kicker here is going to be, can Baylor continue to run the ball at that rate? Can they continue to run the ball that effectively against an Oklahoma State defense giving up just 87 rushing yards per game, one that just held Deuce Vaughn in Kansas State to 62 yards on the day? That's the million-dollar question. And at the end of the day, I don't think Baylor is able to run the ball as effectively as they want. Oklahoma State is going to shut down that run, force Jerry Bohannon to win this game through the air, something that he is capable of doing, something we just haven't had to see him do for Baylor. Spencer Sanders, he struggled early on this year. I think he finally found his groove. That win over a top 25 opponent, throwing for nearly 350 yards, that's a huge confidence booster. I think he's got his confidence back. I think he's got his swagger back. And if he plays anything like he did last week against Kansas State, Oklahoma State will win this game in Stillwater. I believe they do that, but I do believe it is close. I do believe it is competitive, but we've got to go with the Cowboys, who might propel themselves close to the top 15 and solidify themselves as the biggest threat to Oklahoma in the Big 12. So there you have it, guys, your Week 5 college football predictions. 5 biggest games of the week. You do not need to miss any of these games. A lot of them taking place early. I think Baylor, Oklahoma State, the only one being played at night on Saturday. So make sure you get up for game day in Athens. Watch these games because, again, they're huge, they're going to be exciting, and they all have major implications, whether it's for the playoff, like Georgia, Arkansas, and Cincinnati, Notre Dame, Alabama, Ole Miss, or for the individual conference races, like the Big Ten matchup, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Baylor, Oklahoma State. These are huge matchups, guys. The season is slowly but surely taking form. It's been chaotic. It's been unpredictable. It's going to be that way on Saturday, so you might as well just kick back, relax, and enjoy the fun, because we're in for a good one. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes those expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Sign up for those 2-day analysis and picks come out every single Wednesday, so if you haven't already, do it now. One of the best decisions you will make this entire season. I can promise you that. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.